I can't believe that didn't snap.
Happy Islander Day to all of my fellow Prince Edward Island residents. It's another warm day. We're gonna get some work done. Woohoo! Last night, I bent this thing up, and I have a couple learning points to report. This is second or third or fourth thing that I've bent with this. This thing I recorded some video on, but it was such a cluster of me being confused and getting things wrong. I'm just not even going to include it. I'm just going to tell you kind of what I learned. But this thing's now looking pretty good. But I had to screw with it quite a bit to get it there. So I've learned from my mistakes. And we bent up this section of frame rail last night. And one way that I've improved my metal bending performance is by using my 3D printer. So this is kind of a dorky way to do sheet metal bending, but that doesn't bother me. So I just modeled these things up. This is the frame rail. This is the seat rail, or seat bracket that I would like to recreate. And these are way more accurate than what I was using before as a reference. Where on workbench is my seat. This. Previously I just took a thin piece of metal and I bent it around the frame rail, the existing one, to kind of get my shape, but it's only so accurate, and I need all the accuracy I can get in my what I'm going for, my goal. I need as much accuracy as possible because I am an inaccurate human, and if you get something wrong by even a millimeter or two, that's a lot. So this has helped me make sure that along the way everything is going correctly. Check that out. So that's helped. Another thing I learned is that this type of bender is not conducive to doing this sort of thing. So I had to use some tricks and use my brain to make this happen. So how can I describe this? Basically, you do this bend first, and this wouldn't work if this was a little bit wider, because when you bend the second bend, this guy that I'm pointing at with my thumb, you put it in like this, and it's a little bit wonky and sketchy, but it does work. Works pretty well, actually. But the problem is that when you make this bend first, ideally this would now be flat against the table for the next bend that's coming up. But it goes into the tool. It goes into the bender. If there was like a magical slot here for it to sink into, things would be better, but I'm obviously not gonna. There have been many times that I've want to modify this to make certain things happen, but I'm not doing it because I will regret it later. So this bend and this bend, not too difficult. You have to do a little bit of screwiness where it's not perfectly flat against the bender. And then this next bend is not difficult, but then this last bend is very difficult because imagine this is flat, imagine this bend is not here. You basically need to put it in the bender like this, but that doesn't work because of geometry. So to make this bend properly with the right tools, you'd have like a stand-up bender that has inserts and it doesn't have like a flat table that you work with. But what I learned works, at least for me, is you cut every 6 inches, which happens to be the width of my vise, and slit that, stick that in the vise, bend it by hand, and you get a really gross, not pinpoint bend whenever you do that. But it gets it roughed in, and then you can shove it in this, and then clamp it down, get it a lot flatter, and also found that you can stick it in the vise in certain ways and squish it along the way. And we got it close enough for our purposes. So this is going to require some further modification to actually fit it on the car, but that is a goal for me today. I'd love to get that done. So here's a fun thing that we discovered last time we were out here. These are clearly rusty. Clearly. And I thought we were going, like, I've been really careful not to damage these during all this welding. God, this looks gross on camera, but it'll hold. It'll hold. This one, so this is a gas line, and from this side, it looks like there's no holes, but from the other side, like around here somewhere, there is a hole. Can you see it there? I don't know. Anyway, this line's really sketchy. Guaranteed to leak because I've seen the hole. And it also is starting to smell like gas around here a little bit. Which, you know, gasoline fumes, fuel tank, welding. I have a bad rep for lighting things on fire. So let's try and not continue that. So we're going to cut this where it stops existing. Inspect the fuel line to see if I have to replace the entire thing or if I can do a replacement section. And we're also going to drop the fuel tank. So we might not even get to welding. Okay, so this is the original piece that I made for this section, but now that I realize how much of it is really thin and not worth welding to, I made that longer piece that we were just looking at. And we'll talk about that more later when we get there. We're going to make sure that we attach to some good metal. Make sure it is structurally sound, because clearly that's not ideal. So let's see what we got with this fuel tank. I have no idea how much gas is in it. I suspect very little, but I don't know that for a fact. We need to shovel some stuff. Okay, we're gonna half-ass it because this is solid ice. Oh my god. Alright, let's get under here. Let's get dripped on. Let me catch my breath. So, I don't think removing the fuel tank is very difficult. We obviously don't want to stress any lines out that are currently connected to it. We should probably remove that plastic shroud thing. That's probably to our advantage. Sure, those bolts will come out no issue whatsoever. So let's just finger thread those out. And I'd rather not destroy this plastic thing because everything for this car is expensive. Uh-oh! You got that on camera. Well, that's what CA glue's for. I actually only had one casualty removing this thing. We'll fix this up. Plastic was just not strong enough, but we got a lot of those out actually. Okay, what do we got here? Are we gonna find out why this car came with a replacement fuel tank? I think we might. So this is like undercoating. So that's not like the metal separating, but I don't think this has ever been removed. If I were to hazard a guess, this has probably never been removed. So, okay, I might be wrong. I think it's actually a brake line that's busted and not a gas line. We'll find out. But it seems like those larger lines are the gas lines. And the smaller ones are the brake lines. If I were to hazard a guess. Because this looks like what's busted. which, you know, doesn't really make any difference. I still have to repair it one way or another. Man, back here has so much crusty. I never got a chance to, like, pressure wash this before I started working on it, which is a little bit unfortunate. Oh, and here's where the fuel pump is supposed to bolt on. So, so many fun things to play with. Okay. Sounds pretty empty. I don't think that's very full. I think we're just going to be able to drop it. Never done this sort of thing before. Here's our shending unit. That's got to have some sort of a clip on it. Oh, okay. Okay. That, yeah. That came apart way too easily. Oh, hello. This does not seem very sealed. What the heck? Now it really smells like gas. Okay, so that, not conducive to success. Well, at least that's disconnected. I know that there's three lines that go to the fuel tanks. I guess that's one of them. Okay. What is this? Qu'est-ce que c'est? What are you, friend? Barely holding on. Okay. Let's, no, that's, I think that's where the fuel pump goes. It's right there. Okay, let's follow the broken one. This is the broken one. It's on the right. It goes back here. I think that does go to the fuel tank. Okay. Alright. We'll figure it out as we take it apart. That just looks like a breather thingy. I was looking at diagrams earlier. This is like a kind of a T intersection sort of deal. They definitely undercoated this car. Like, there's layers and layers and layers of this black rubberized tire undercoating, which is not my favorite flavor of undercoating whatsoever. I think it helped in some areas of the car and really hurt it in other areas. So, give and take. Some areas of this frame are totally solid and untouched. Some areas are not. So, I'm definitely glad that we're tackling this fuel tank, because it needed to be addressed no matter what. And we might as well do that before I light the entire car on fire by welding near gasoline vapors. Boys, I think we found a problem. This is supposed to be attached to the fuel tank. I removed this side, like I slid it off, and then this just came. So, thanks for the new fuel tank, previous owner. Clutch. Alright, I think we got everything disconnected. I pulled two lines off. that third line fell off. We got this loose. We got the sending unit, or the plug for the sending unit, disconnected. Now I think it's just a matter of unbolting those rusty things and getting a ton of rust in my eyes. Nope. Yep. Let's do it. Yep, spun. Set it back to 2. Also, I don't have the fuel tank supported with anything. Ah. No? You gave up? You're done? All right. I can't believe that didn't snap. Here we go. Okay. It is now free. And now I'm just gonna cheese it out of there. Be free. This is going to be dramatic, but I don't care because this fuel tank is dickered. Yeah. Yes. Get out of there. You would just yank these. I'm here for a good time. Hello. What's going on, buddy? Oh, is it caught up on the filler nuts? The fact that there's writing on this leads me to think that this was replaced before, and now it's destroyed again. Oh man. Let's pull this out and take a closer look. Yeah, you see that? I think that is supposed to be attached to something. Interesting. Is there a date on this? No. Town Hill, Texaco. Prince William Street, Newcastle, New Brunswick. Numbers. Interesting. Now that I'm content that these lines aren't going to contain any gasoline, one mistake that I made here is I did not adequately clean the black undercoating from the underside, and it made the welds really dirty, and it also caught fire majorly every single time that I welded it. So we're not going to make that same mistake over here. I'm not going to redo this. This is really sturdy. It's just ugly. and the only time you're going to see it is now. So this is me at my most vulnerable, showing you my shitty welds. So, yep, I'm going to get under there, and this thing is absolutely clutch for removing rubberized undercoat, either factory or aftermarket sprayed on by a shop. Absolutely great. Probably what we're going to do is use that to get the big chunks off and then hit it with brake clean, because I think that stuff dissolves with brake clean. And then we'll be able to weld and have relatively clean welds and have less fire, because this area scares me a little bit more than over here, which is out in the open. Moisture actively seeping here, which is not ideal, but what am I? Okay, I think we have a plan of attack. So we're going to cut this in some way. And yeah, we're going to cut it. We have cut the metal. I'm not going to go into detail. You'll see when it's done. Alright. Frame. Hole in frame. Snaps right in like Lego. So I got a tiny bit more fine tuning to do, and then we can get the welder out. Alright, you can tell it's a bunch later. We've made much progress. So here's how we're looking. Crappy part. Good part. So we got a bunch of welds in the side. I'm not going to do any welds on the bottom here because there's just not enough. In hindsight, would I make this entire piece like this whole length instead of doing a patch here and a patch here? Absolutely, but I didn't know I was going to buy a sheet metal brake, so I did this one first and thought I was going to do 2 patches, so whatever. Doesn't really matter what it looks like. Absolutely nobody is going to see it, again, except for you folks. Not the worst, certainly not the best, but what matters is that it holds. So let's do a little test here. I think that'll do.